not trying to kill us! Guys, huddle up! Already missing the jiggle jellies!
They keep moving around!
It is past time, my blade!
Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Dorrani from VG247.com, and I'm joined by Alex. Alex, hello, how are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. It's busy. E3 is no less busy despite the fact we're not physically there. I'm just less hungry. Mainly, that's the main difference.
Yeah, busy, but it's still exciting. We love new game releases or new game announcements. So, you have seen Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Tell me about that.
Yeah, or be more specifically, it's Square Enix's, Eidos Montreal's, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. By which I mean, Square Enix is publishing it, Eidos Montreal is making it. Obviously, some of you now are probably thinking, oh no, because obviously Square Enix made the Avengers game, which wasn't great. And a lot of people are probably thinking, oh no, Square Enix making another Marvel game, it's probably going to be a disaster. We'll stop right there because I've seen about half an hour of it, and I'm telling you, it looks pretty damn good. It looks way better than Avengers, in my opinion.
So why does it look good? What sort of differences are here?
Well,
Give me all of the information.
It's a different sort of game for a start, but I guess let's start at the top with one thing that they do have in common. This is Eidos Montreal's own vision of the Guardians of the Galaxy, of the team. It's the same team that people who have watched the film will be familiar with, because there was a 60s Guardians team and then there was the 2000s Guardians team in the comics. Yeah. And the film was based on the 2000s one. So this is Star-Lord, Peter Quill, it's Gamora, Drax, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot. And it's that same group, but it's a unique version of these. These are not the characters from the film, so there's no Chris Pratt, there's no Zoe Saldana or anything like that. Some of them are closer to the films than others, I guess I would say. Like, I think Star-Lord, I think Peter is pretty close approximation to the film one. A lot of the elements from the film have bled into the game. Whereas Gamora, actually, with her clothes and the way she looks and stuff like that, she's got body armor. She looks more like the comic Gamora. Or for me, actually, because I don't read a huge number of comics, for me, I'm like, oh, that's the Marvel versus Capcom Gamora.
Okay. I feel like, just a quick note, I feel like it rubs the general population a bit wrong, because a lot of people know Marvel characters from the films.
So I think with Avengers, that was a problem, but it became a lightning rod issue in that the way the characters looked and the fact they did look like I used to jokingly call it Revengers, right? Because I was saying it looked like, you go into like Poundland or a Dollar Tree and you see the knockoff action figures. I was like, that's what the character of that game looked like. But the thing is, I don't know if it's that the film versions of the Guardians are less iconic, because I don't think there's ever going to be another Iron Man that isn't Robert Downey Jr., right? Or anyone else who takes that role is constantly going to be in his shadow. Whereas I don't immediately think Chris Pratt when I think Star-Lord necessarily in the same way. But also I think Avengers as a game had other significant problems. And I think if Avengers was just a killer game, people would have got over that character model thing.
Yeah,
and
I agree,
the reason they didn't is because Avengers as a whole just had some systemic problems that stopped it from being as good or as compelling as people want. So the key question is, does Guardians have that problem? And I don't think it's going to, actually. But like I said, it's quite a different sort of game, but I just want to make clear to everyone watching, yes, it's a different sort of game. It's a different universe. It's a different sort of game to Avengers. Not clear if this is the same universe as the Avengers game. Like, could these two cross over eventually? In a Marvel movie style event. But it's a unique Guardians universe. And for people who care about this stuff, just to give you a broad idea, in this game, when you start playing it, the Guardians team has been together for about a year, so they do know each other. It's not an origin story in that sense. It seems like the origin in this version of the universe is literally Star-Lord managed to bring them together sort of as heroes for hire to make money. So it's not like in the film where they're brought together by a big cataclysmic world-ending, galaxy-threatening plot. They're just together for money. But then what happens is they go on a mission, and something, I don't know what, because no spoilers, but something happens on that mission. Something goes wrong on that mission that sets off a chain reaction of dominoes falling that leads to a massive, potentially galaxy-threatening event. And so the Guardians have to sort of step up and undo the thing that they did, or deal with the consequences of whatever it was that they did that leads to this situation. And so that's the situation in this game, story-wise.
Yeah, story-wise. But we want to know about the gameplay, because it was the gameplay that let down the previous Avengers game. So am I going to be finding legendary and exotic boots and equipping purple armor and all that and playing with friends? Or
so if I had to guess, there probably will be loot. I didn't see any, but I would be surprised if there wasn't, based on some other things that I saw. But no, you're not going to be playing with friends. This is at least what I saw of it. So maybe there's a different mode. I want to be clear on that, because I can only talk about what I saw. But the core of the game is a single player experience where you play as Star-Lord. You don't even play as the other characters.
That's it.
You are Star-Lord. And they said they wanted to do that because he is a human character that we can connect to, and he's the leader of the team as well. So it puts you in the position of the leader of the team, which leads to some interesting gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like that's the right choice. I feel people might be upset, but I think in the grand scheme of things, that needs to be done. Just single player, we hope, and focus more on Star. He's the focus in the films anyway, so it's only right. It's only right.
Well, the idea is this, right? Is all the other characters are there, but the thing that makes the Guardians unique is that they are like this dysfunctional family unit.
Yeah.
And so by putting you in the role of Peter, who is almost the dad of the group, I guess, you are constantly in the middle of all the fights between the other characters.
Yeah.
So when Gamora and Rocket are disagreeing about something, you're the person, Star-Lord is the person who speaks up into that moment.
Yeah.
And so this leads into, there's actually almost like BioWare, Mass Effect style sort of dialogue choices.
Okay,
and
that
these
sounds
will have consequences. So it's little things like, I see a scene in the stuff that I watched where they're deciding on, as part of the heist thing they're pulling, they're either going to pretend to sell either Rocket or Groot to like a slaver, evil slaver person. And there's a debate going on, and Gamora wants to do one thing and Drax wants to do another, and then it comes on to you, and you are the person who they have a vote in the group, and you become the tiebreaker vote, where it's like, are you going to choose to sell Rocket for this scheme, or are you going to sell Groot for this scheme? And obviously that will impact the mission, it'll impact the dialogue. They were saying some of these choices will have repercussions immediately. Some of them might just lead to different banter, but some of them you might see repercussions significantly down the line later in the game. Something you did might come back on you.
Okay.
Again, in a sort of Mass Effect style. Like, I'll give you another example. In the demo I saw, the group comes to like a big gap and it's too big to jump across.
Yeah.
But there's a bridge, but the bridge needs to be extended.
Okay.
And the only way the bridge can be extended is from the other side. And Drax just picks up Rocket by the scruff of his neck and says, I'm going to throw him over the gap and he can press the switch.
Yeah.
And Rocket says, don't you dare do that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, throw him or don't, basically.
Okay, yeah. So there's options.
And when that happens, so in the demo that I saw, Rocket gets thrown across and it straight up pops up in the corner of the screen, almost in the way that Telltale's adventure games used to. Mm-hmm. Something that says, like, Rocket is furious that you let Drax throw him.
Oh, so is there like some sort of was it morality? What's the word? Like,
well, I think the way characters react to you will change based on some of the actions that you take.
That's
and
good.
So the idea is you are playing a Star-Lord, but these other characters are always around you and they're a part of everything you do. You're talking to them in dialogue. In combat, they're fighting alongside you as AI allies.
Yeah.
But also you can sort of, I don't know what button it is, because again, it wasn't hands-on, but you can press a button to bring up a menu, and you can, with a press of a button, order Gamora to do her special attack on an enemy.
Okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
There's team-up attacks and stuff. So I think my favourite little touch in it is, and it speaks to who Star-Lord is as a character, right? Where he's all about pop culture references and stuff. But Star-Lord actually does what is unmistakably a Shoryuken.
Oh, really?
On an alien, and the alien goes flying into the air, and then Drax runs in and drop kicks the alien while
No
it's in midair
way.
from the uppercut. So it's like it is totally leaning into that team aspect, which
Yeah.
I think is really really cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds exciting. I think I admire that they are trying again. If that makes
Well, I
sense,
mean,
that
I
they are
think
giving it another go. I know it's a
so.
different team, but
So here's the interesting thing: like behind the scenes,
yeah.
when they announced Avengers, they did say Avengers was the first of several Marvel projects from Square Enix for a start.
Okay.
So that was
Yeah.
never a secret. But also, I will say, behind the scenes, from pretty early on after that announcement was made, we knew that Eidos Montreal was making a Guardians of the Galaxy game. So to be honest, it wasn't a when I showed up to this thing and Square Enix were like, sign this and we'll show you our new game from Eidos Montreal. I
Yeah.
knew that it was Guardians of the Galaxy before I went
Yeah,
in
yeah.
because I'd known for years. And so this was obviously in development before Avengers came out and had all the problems that it had.
Okay.
But with that said, it does feel like some of the stuff in this is almost a reaction to what a lot of people said about Avengers. Or maybe Square Enix understood the shortcomings of Avengers before it even released and had tried to make two very different games in two very different categories.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's a good thing.
No, it is. And some elements, so there's still like, again, we don't have all the details in the sense that I just watch a gameplay video and a bit of talk from the developers, just to run down some of the little bits that are important. So, I saw like an experience bar.
Okay.
So it seems like there's going to be experience, character growth with the skill set that Star-Lord has, where he's got his rocket boots and he's got his dual pistols and stuff. It seems obvious that you could have a skill tree. I don't know if that's the case, but it seems like that would be an obvious thing. But I definitely saw an experience bar. It's got a stagger mechanic where you stagger enemies, almost like in the Final Fantasy games.
Yeah,
In
every
Final
game's
Fantasy
got a
VII.
stagger mechanic now.
Yeah,
Every
I
single
suppose
game's
so.
got a stagger.
But because it's a Square Enix game, I just immediately think, oh, like FF13 and FF7 Remake.
Yeah.
So staggered enemies take more damage, all that sort of stuff. So you've got those elements. And music, I think we have to just briefly touch on. Music is a huge part of the Guardians films.
Yep.
The developers were saying in the thing that I watched that their Peter Quill, the one that they've made, is a child of the 80s, which is the same as the film one, to be fair.
Yeah.
And he's got his little Walkman and his Walkman headphones.
Hey.
And so they do have a licensed soundtrack of 80s movies. So to name check a few, they talked about Blondie, they talked about Kiss, they talked about Iron Maiden, they talked about Wham, talked about Pat Benatar, stuff like that.
These are all people that I have no idea. Apart from Iron Maiden, who the hell are these people to me? I was born in 1990.
It's disgraceful. You don't know who. You don't know who. You don't know who like Pat Benatar is.
Nah, Wham rings a bell, but the rest
Wham
of them
is Last Christmas, man.
Yeah, nah. You see, I don't know these people. If you were to play like some of their songs, for example, I might know, bro. You can't get mad at me. You can't be upset with me for being born in 1995.
Wake me up before you go.
Yeah. Oh, okay, see, that's what I said. I said, tell me the song and I'll know. Listen, I'm not gonna be made to feel bad because I don't know today. So, I don't know. We'll agree to disagree on that one. And to be honest, it's not me personally.
No, I know. I love that.
It's not my
I love that. You know, as a 32-year-old, I just squeaked into the 80s.
There you go.
in my first year of life, but I do love 80s music, and and so there's those. The trailer is also set to Bonnie Tyler holding out for a hero, so you get the sort of vibe they're going for.
Yeah.
And something I really like is some of the music is actually like diegetic. Like,
what do you mean?
So that is that's like a a film theory term or whatever. But basically, the difference between non-diegetic and diegetic is one is when the sound you're hearing is just soundtrack. Mm-hmm. So like when you're watching James Bond in a fight, James Bond can't hear the Bond theme. It's not playing actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other is when something is actually playing in the universe.
Okay.
And the Guardians films play with this a lot. But like in the game, I saw like a special move, a super move, where Star-Lord puts his headphones on
Yeah.
and starts playing a song, and that licensed song plays throughout the duration of his super move.
Okay.
Obviously, when
That
the
sounds
super's over, he takes his headset off
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's
Kiss
a really
stops
nice way
playing or
to
whatever.
tie it in. That's a really nice way to tie it in. Nah, that sounds awesome. I think they've got a lot to play with here. They've got a big world to play with. And a lot of cool little neat things. As you said, I like to see all of the pop culture references. If I'm not sure if you saw, he's part God. He's part God in the films. So, mate, is he part God in the game as well? Or...
You know what? I don't know, because obviously this is the thing. They are working with their own...
yeah, that's true.
Their own lore. So it's like, I didn't see Nebula in any of this footage, which is a significant character for the Guardians.
Yeah,
there was a very brief glimpse of Mantis, who is a significant character.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like Yondu, for instance, in the films. Yondu became really popular and really iconic in the films. You know, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, and all that. And but that was, I'm pretty sure, Yondu and his relationship with Quill was sort of something more developed in the films.
Yeah.
Yondu was obviously one of the original Guardians from the 60s. So there's this question, right, of do they do a different Yondu relationship? Is Yondu not in the game at all? And I think there's going to be lots of this. And they talked a bit about villains, where they said, because the cosmic universe hasn't been explored massively in the films yet, they have the opportunity to have some really familiar, really famous villains from the Guardians back catalogue, and also some that nobody except the most hardcore Marvel fans will have ever heard of. Yeah. And so they're going to do a mix of that. It's exciting. I genuinely, because I went into this and I was like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be right? Is it going to be what we want? And I'm a Guardians fan, right? I would say. Like, in fact, let me get something that I bought last week.
Ahead.
My
ahead.
Credentials.
Oh, the receipts. Let's go. How big of a Guardians fan you are?
Here's a Lego set. Here is a Lego set of the Guardian ship from the films that I literally built last week.
Are you sure you didn't build it specifically for this video? Are you sure? I feel like you did.
It's just over there. I was looking at it out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got that ship. I gotta be careful not to sit on it now."
Don't put it on your chair. I was gonna say you might.
But my point is, you know, I love those films. I've read some of the comics, and I've got a great affinity for the comics, but they're my favourite MCU films. I think they're the best MCU films as standalone films without the rest of the universe. And so, yeah, I know there's going to be like people talking about fucking Winter Soldier or whatever in the comments. But anyway, my point is, I think it looks great, and I think some people are inevitably going to go, lol, it doesn't look anything like Chris Pratt. It looks like Poundland Guardians. I'm sure some people are going to say that shit. But to be honest with you, I look at this and I'm like, this looks like a universe I want to play in. This looks like versions of the characters I want to get to know. And the game bit looks like something I want to play. It looks like a single player game I can jump in and enjoy and get into. And here's the best thing. Despite all the COVID stuff and the fact that we don't know what the back end of this year is going to look like in a lot of cases, this thing is out in October 26th. PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And so I can't wait for October. I think the only thing is, I'm pretty sure that day, October 26th, is the same day as Battlefield.
Well, I feel like they're games for two different people. I would say not really.
I don't know. I want them both.
Yeah. A lot of people are gonna get them both, but I don't think they're like in competing.
No, I guess not. I guess not.
No, that is awesome. I like to hear it when games are announced and coming out soon. That is the best thing. You don't have to wait. You love
to see it.
Yeah.
And obviously, I will say, we're recording this before Square Enix's E3 presentation. You will obviously be seeing it after, once the game is announced. So if there's any bits and pieces about the game that I don't mention, or if they announce it's coming to more platforms or something like that. If they announce a Stadia version or something, rest in peace, Stadia. You know, that's just something we weren't told about in the briefing. But it looks, everything I saw in the briefing, I think it was probably about 15 minutes of gameplay, a 3-minute trailer, and a bunch of the developers talking. And the developers said all the right things. The gameplay looked good, and the trailer looked good. So, you know,
what more can you ask for?
Exactly.
What more can you ask for? Right. We're going to wrap it up there. That has been Dorrani and Alex from VG247.com. We're going to have some sort of write-up if you manage to find it amongst all of the E3 craziness that's going on the website. But that is us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you know when we post videos.
Ring the bell, always.
Take care, everyone.
See ya.